Good evening everybody and welcome to the South East Planning Committee meeting on Wednesday the 8th of April 2025. My name is Councillor Vanessa Bell and I am the Chairperson of this committee. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting you are giving your consent to be recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and then I will invite you at the appropriate time. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. However, they are in the air so we don't have to get up close to them. So please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. Thank you. Clerk, may I have the apologies for absence, please? Committee Clerk?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence from Councillor Ban.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, item 3 minutes. It's recommended that the minutes of the meeting on the 11th of December, wasn't that long ago, the last meeting, found on pages 7 to 10 are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Neil. Do we agree voice by assent, members? Yes, agreed. Super. Thank you very much. Okay, moving to item 4, declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Members, any interest? Councillor Stan?
I'd just like to say that I received an email which I forwarded on to the committee, I think, from the applicant's agent. Forgive me, I haven't got the person's name. And also there's been some correspondence in the past when I was the leader with, I'm struggling at names. But only when I was leading the council, so many years ago. And maybe other things if they've asked for assistance, but nothing pecuniary.
Thank you very much. Any other members? Councillor
Chairman, reference to item 5. I'd just like to declare that I had an ad hoc unsolicited meeting with a third party connected to the application. In the interest of openness and transparency, the application was discussed. No planning officer was present, which is contrary to the members' code of conduct. So, Chairman, on that basis and on taking advice, I'll stay for the officer's presentation and the response from the applicant's agent and then leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fluke. Members, I might take this opportunity to remind you all that site visits that aren't conducted with a planning officer are not considered acceptable, and if anybody has visited the site without a planning officer, then we might be called into question. So if any members have done so, I would urge that you do declare an interest at this point in time. No? Thank you, members. Okay, if that's it for declarations of interest, if anyone becomes aware of any interests as the meeting goes on, please do remember that you should declare them. Thank you. So let's move on to agenda item 5, 00886 full, and 24008887, which is listed building consent, Cartlodge Outbuilding, attached to southwest of Barn, Reddings Farm, Reddings Lane, Tillingham. You will find these on pages 11 to 32. We have no members' update for this item, so I'll hand straight over to Fiona Bradley to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. As the Chair introduced, this is an application for the Cartlodge Outbuilding land attached to southwest of Barn, Reddings, and Reddings Farm, Reddings Lane and Tillingham. This is an application for retrospective planning permission for the change of use of the building from a seasonal worker accommodation to holiday accommodation. It's understood that the unauthorised use occurred sometime between 2019 and 2021. Planning permission was previously approved, as I've said, for farm workers accommodation. The proposal also includes alterations to the listed building. So this is the site plan that we've received. I'll move my cursor, but it's not very obvious, I'm afraid, so I'll talk you through things. So there are two access points to the site, one to the north of the range of buildings up in this location, and one to the south. So the building subject of this application is this long building here running pretty much north to south adjacent to Reddings Lane, and includes this little sort of inverted L shape up here. So as I said, there are two accesses to the site. The application building is adjacent to a barn, which is shown here, which is in commercial use, and also a steel frame building in this location here. I'll talk through some photos soon so you'll get an idea of what it looks like if you haven't been to site. To the south are two residential properties. We've got Old Reddings West and Old Reddings East, and they're served by an access just further to the south of the southern access here. The site is within the countryside for planning policy purposes, and it's approximately 1 kilometre from Tillingham, which is the nearest village. This is the floor plan, and I'm sorry you won't be able to see it very well here, but it's a long building here. It's got 8 bedrooms coming off a corridor here with communal bathroom and living and kitchen area in this location down here. So it's the bedrooms running up the side with the communal accommodation down here. Now, due to the type of layout that's proposed here, we have considered that the accommodation would comprise more of a sui generis use rather than a standard C3 residential use, which holiday accommodation often falls into, and that's because of the number of bedrooms that are here, and as I've said, the layout with the communal type living accommodation as well. These are the other elevations of the buildings. So the one at the bottom of the screen here is what you can see on Reddings Lane itself, with this one here is the elevation adjacent to the southern access, and this is what you can't really see because of the other buildings on the site here. So just running through some photographs, this is the application building here, and this photo is taken from the northern access looking south on Reddings Lane. This is the barn, which is shown as the barn on the site location plan, with the commercial use operating from it, including the yard in front. And this is looking across that commercial yard, again taken from the northern access, with the application building to the right of this photograph. In terms of car parking, this is the existing car parking for the commercial use and also for the holiday accommodation, which lies to the north of the site. And just visible here in the photograph behind the car parking is the application site building itself. Now this is looking from the other end, from the southern access, looking north up Reddings Lane, again with the application site building on the right hand side there. This is in the southern access, so we've got the application building immediately to the left, with the other commercial building further on to the left. And on the right hand side is where we've got the boundary with Old Reddings West on the right hand side there. And this is just another view, so we've got the southern access on the left hand side here, with the access that serves Old Reddings West and Old Reddings East further to the south. As you will have seen in the officer report, this is an application for listed building consent and also for full planning permission. So during the lifetime of the application, we did receive further information regarding the listed building consent, which our conservation officer considered, and he's also been to site, looked at what's gone on. The recommendation we've had from him is that he's now got no objection to the listed building consent, subject to conditions. So in terms of the recommendation, we've got two recommendations, one for the listed building consent, which is for approval, subject to those conditions, and one which is for the planning application, which is for refusal. So the planning application, we've recommended refusal for 4 reasons. I've summarised them here. Firstly is the unsustainable location being in the countryside and therefore reliance on the use of private car, and also the failure to demonstrate the identified need for tourist accommodation in this location. The second reason for refusal is inadequate parking provision. The car parking provision will be shared with the commercial use, and there are concerns about the interrelatedness between the commercial use using the access across the commercial yard into the holiday accommodation, which comes up in number 3 as well in terms of the access.
With a misprint on it, I think.
No, I wouldn't have put a misprint
Years?
in, would I?
Across the commercial service, years?
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Not like me to rush and do anything, apologies.
We mean yard,
We do mean yard,
We do.
it's not yes. And the fourth reason for refusal is due to impact on amenity. As you'll have seen in the report, we've had a number of letters of representation regarding the application, 26 in support and 7 in objection, and they've been summarised in the officer report. But our opinion is that there would be an impact in terms of residential amenity on neighbours to the south of the site. That's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms Bradley. So members, we do have public participation for this item. So first of all, I will invite the objector, Tamsin.
Yes.
Tamsin. If you'd like to approach the table there, is that the so bear with us, you have 2 minutes, and the clock, as soon as we find it, will start when we
I'm
start
just trying to remember how we thank you.
There we go. So whenever you're ready,
Okay.
fire away.
We've lived at Outbuilding North West for 10 years. Our home is a great touristic property dating back to 1502. The building subject to these planning applications is within 7 metres of the boundary with our property. We are the only direct neighbours to this particular building. What needs to be recognised here is that this sizable building with the ability to sleep 16 people plus easily. The application is totally against the premise of granting workers accommodation back in 2013 and far removed from the building's original agricultural use. The access to this building is dangerous. The main entrance door is accessed on foot adjacent to the main entrance to Reddings Farm. There is a fire escape door and access ramp to the south elevation, and this opens directly onto what is a full-time commercial access for large vehicles. This fire escape door opens within metres of the boundary with our property and directly overlooks it. The exit route and associated ramp for this fire door are outside the red line of this application site. Over the last 4 years, there have been many guests that, because of the lack of external amenity space, have opened the fire door and the adjacent window, using this area for smoking, drinking, playing music, and generally making a lot of noise with some drunken antisocial behaviour. Guests have played football on Reddings Lane, groups have bought their own personal stereo and walked up and down Reddings Lane with it blaring out. The nature of stays is usually fairly short, but large groups are usually celebrating something, and extensive reviews online highlight this. In spite of the breach petition notice being issued in August 23, the building has continued to be used by holiday guests. The larger the group, the greater the adverse effects on the amenity of neighbouring properties. Booking listings do not impose rules limiting any of the following: the number of people staying, parties or events, use of the building for professional photography or filming, playing of loud music, the use of fireworks, minimum age of guests, and longer stays. And Malvern District Council could not effectively manage conditions to prevent these. To summarise, the only justifiable and reasonable planning decision is to reject this planning application to protect the quality of life and the immunity of direct neighbours. Furthermore, if this approved, this would set exceedingly dangerous precedent.
Thank you very much. Okay, now the applicant Skeggs, if you'd like to. Yeah. So exactly the same, whenever you're ready, the timer starts.
Good evening, I'm Susanna Skeggs. As farmers, we're being encouraged by the government to diversify. Over 68% of farms in the UK have already got diversified into holiday lets according to DEFRA. We feel a strong responsibility to preserve this historic listed building. The upkeep costs are considerable, and without sustainable use, this building risks falling into disrepair. The accommodation supports local employment. We currently have 4 part-time staff, including cleaners, maintenance and marketing. We regularly employ local tradespeople who help us keep the building in good condition, which also directly feeds back into the local economy. A total of 32 public comments have been submitted. Of those, 26 were in support and only 6 were objections. It's also worth noting that half the objections came from the same household. To date, no complaints have been upheld or substantiated, despite being reported to multiple authorities. We have 5 immediate neighbours, 4 of them submitting supporting comments. This shows that those living closest are largely in favour. They state they've never had any issues regarding noise, parties, parking or traffic in relation to the accommodation, are only in full support for the diversification. We received 5 supporting comments from local businesses that benefit directly from the guests. They reflect a consistent message. This accommodation supports local livelihoods, reduces environmental impact and strengthens our rural economy. We received 14 supporting comments from previous guests who not only enjoyed their stay but also made a meaningful contribution to the local economy and community. A number of guests state that they've spent several £1,000s within the area supporting a number of businesses. We received 62 positive Airbnb reviews. Many of these reviews highlight the size and comfort of the accommodation. 11 specifically mention the word space in a positive context, and a further 7 use the word spacious. I encourage you to support this application as it boosts our local economy, employs local people and keeps the historic building alive. Many thank you.
Thank you, well in time, thank you very much. So, members, as Bradley, Mrs. Bradley said, we have 2 recommendations. Thank you, Councillor Kruger. We have 2 recommendations for listed building, one which is recommended for acceptance, and the actual planning application which is recommended to for refusal. So members, I throw the floor open to you. Don't all talk at once.
Can I have some clarity? Has it got planning permission to operate as an Airbnb?
No, it doesn't.
So now I don't want to get into bother, so we've had this before about enforcement and planning application. So enforcement's a separate matter. Is that being dealt with under a separate matter? Do you know?
It is.
Alright. So it's illegally operating as it stands with an Airbnb?
We would say it's unauthorised.
Unauthorised, not illegal. Thank you. I said to say I didn't want to get into trouble, so thank you for that. Okay. Alright. That's all I've got to ask.
Okay, any other members? Yes.
I have a great sympathy with both sides. I understand that DEFRA do want farms to diversify. In fact, there are many farms within the Malden district that have. However, this is a balance thing, isn't it? Is this an appropriate location? Is it an appropriate use of the building? And I came here minded to think that this was. However, when you look at the parking situation, the closeness to the adjacent buildings just across the road, I'm wary of what the highways have said, that the parking is probably inadequate. I'm minded to agree with the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pratt. Councillor Fitter.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, not here to arbitrate between the benefits in terms of the employment opportunities it's created and or the harm done to the objectors in terms of their amenities up to this point in time. What we are here to do is to consider the application against the local development plan that we have in place. And it's a difficult one. I mean, I've looked back over applications that have been determined by officers over a number of years. And it seems to be fairly consistent in as much as that the applicants have to demonstrate there is a market need for the development area. And that's substantiated by our local development plan that tries to encourage development within settlement boundaries and they're in very sustainable locations. Notwithstanding the fact that we don't have a 5-year housing land supply, had the application been for a residential property, the matter might have been different. But as the officer explained, it obviously isn't going to be suitable as a general residential property given the layout of it. So I you know, on balance, when I'm looking at the local development plan and the situation in the council, we already have if you like, challenges to our plan based upon the government's new housing targets. I think that we would potentially just be adding fuel to the fire if we keep departing from the plan for nominal reasons, which I think this would be. I can see the both sides of it. I can see the benefits, but I think the harm they would do to our departing from plan and the precedence it sets for developments moving forward, especially given the situation, would be quite damaging. So I would therefore agree that I'm minded to support the officer's recommendation.
Councillor Stan.
Can I just have clarity? Are we voting on both together? Or
No, we're going to take them individually.
As Councillor Pratt said, you know, we've got to look at this as planning. My biggest concern with this application is to do with the size of it. If this had come to us with possibly 3 or 4 individual units, I might have been more inclined to look at it positively. As it's one open construction, you are looking at a larger group, and obviously I have quite a large family and I often have to look for this type of accommodation when looking for holidays for myself. It does intrinsically mean that you've got to fill it if you're going to hire it. Obviously the cost price and cost benefits for the owners, it needs to be a full application, full tenancy usage. It is encouraging the large groups to come, which is, you know, going to happen. It's going to potentially encourage some more of the party atmosphere, if you like. This isn't families. It could be families coming together, but you know, it's going to be a larger kind of gathering on the site, and that's my concern, obviously with residents and the parking issues as well.
Thank you, Councillor Neil. Councillor Hayward.
I think actually Councillor Neil was just hit the nail on the head. I can see obviously it is more commercial at the moment, the way it stands with the 8 bedrooms, the way the layout is and everything like that. I myself would have preferred it to have come with 2 separate accommodations, so there's 4 bedrooms in one, 4 bedrooms in another, and then that way you know it's 2 and you're going to get smaller amounts of people coming in rather than having 16 people all at one time, or less, because it could obviously be just one person, or it could be 8 people. So it does go on the line, obviously, as Councillor was saying, you will get the more people you're going to get there, the more noise is going to be created. So I can see from both sides, it's great for the farmers, and I do understand they've got to diversify, but it's also, you've got to think of the neighbours as well, so it's a very difficult one to go for.
It really is, thank you. No, it really is, and I must admit, my view is very similar to that of Councillor Pratt. But when I actually looked at the environment, you know, working industrial site and car parking, I had visions of horrible accidents and all kinds of things. But members, would anyone else? Yes, Councillor Stan.
I'd like to propose that we agree the officer's recommendation to refuse it. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, so just to be clear, this is the planning application. Yeah, so the recommendation is for refusal.
Yeah.
So members, can we agree that by assent?
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. So the planning application, we have agreed with the officer's recommendation to refuse. So I'm going to move on to the listed building consent And I propose that we follow the officer's recommendation and agree. Do I have a second?
Can we debate? Have we got any questions on it?
Oh, sorry, I thought we were debating all the same. Yeah, by all
That's
means.
fine. No,
I was just sorry, yes, no, I was going to take the recommendation separately, but yeah, carry on, please. Yes.
Thank you. Now, really for clarity, really, the listed building consent. I'm certainly not a tin housen, and I don't really do a lot of understanding the heritage. But I'm a little bit surprised that it's going to be, the building consent is going to be granted. I've got no reason, I can't refuse it because I've got no grounds to refuse it and I'm not an expert. But I would have hoped there would have been a little bit more taking into account the conservation as we understand conservation is. And possibly
a bit more
could be.
clarity if Mrs Bradley can give a bit more.
Well, I did ask
clarity. I was going to drop you in it, so I'm not sure.
I didn't want to put you in a position.
We haven't got Mr Housen. Are you able to provide clarity on that, Mrs Bradley?
Probably not to the extent.
No, I don't think that would
I will not drop you in it then.
All I can say in terms of that is that during the course of the application, initially Mr Housen had raised an objection to
Yeah, I
it.
thought you might.
We did receive revised plans and following that, he removed that objection and was satisfied that it wouldn't harm the significance of the listed building and was happy to support it subject to conditions.
I'm going to Councillor Fittock, then Councillor. Right, sorry, Councillor Fittock.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the areas of whether it's less than substantial harm. So it doesn't mean to say the conservation of it doesn't consider there's any harm whatsoever. But there has to be less than substantial, which there is, and the conditions are sort of trying to point it in a certain direction, as I understand it.
Thank you, Councillor Fittock. Councillor.
So, if I may through you, Chair, the officer saying is we can convert this building with 8 bedrooms, but we can't use it.
The listed building consent is for external works, so mainly fenestration and that sort of thing. So yes, those works could be done,
But you mustn't use it.
but you can't use it. So it's not a unique situation. You know, it's something that will often happen with a barn conversion, for example, that's listed. The actual works to the listed building are all that we can control in terms of the listed building consent, and if we're satisfied with that, it goes for approval. But the use might not be acceptable.
So you agree with the planning system, Councillor
So
Fittock?
just to come back, I mean, presumably it could be used for a different purpose. It's just that it's not been deemed to be appropriate at the moment as a bed and breakfast.
That's correct.
Yes,
It's going to have a different purpose. Could it go back to being used for agricultural for the workers? Can that still be used? Because obviously that's still in place, isn't it? Or is it
Well,
not?
that's a technicality that I'm not
Because
sure of actually.
obviously thinking about you're doing, making up the outside so that the building is up to standard, because that's what this granted listed building is, so it's up to standard and it's usable and you're trying to preserve the listed building. But the inside at the moment, the last application was for agricultural workers to live within that building, and is that still in place?
I'd have to say, I don't know if that was implemented, that planning permission, so it's not something that we need to know tonight.
But that would be the reason for.
Had that been implemented, then yes, but I think we're stepping outside that.
Yes. But surely, if guests agree to work for 20 minutes,
No.
I think we're
I was going to say, if once we agree the building consent, if we do, does that mean then an application could come back once this has been brought up to standard, a different application for use as a holiday?
It could, but it could anyway, couldn't it?
Yeah, so that's, yeah, I just wanted to sort of clarify that.
Yeah. Members, do I have a seconder for agreeing? No.
I've seconded it.
Thank you,
for the
Councillor
benefit of
Pratt.
getting the vote, yes.
Right, I get a sense we can't agree this by assent. So, members, all those in favour of accepting the officer's recommendation to approve, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against? 2, and I will abstain on that one. Abstentions?
No, this is all.
That's all.
It's only you.
I can't count. No good at maths. So that is passed then, that one is approved. So thank you very much, members and speakers. So then we move on to any other items of business that the chairperson decides are urgent. There are none. So I will move on to item 7, the closure of the meeting. So I am now closing at 8 o'clock precisely. Members, thank you.